Hello everyone, hope you're having a great Saturday. Welcome to Grow to Glow Tarot. Today we're going to talk about how to strengthen your spiritual relationships. This is relationships with gods, goddesses, guardian angels, city, any spiritual guardians, animal spirits, anything that you would like to include in that. This is how you can strengthen your relationship with them. And I already did a Moon Oracle card for this, expecting to possibly get an actual deity. But I got the full moon, and the next full moon is December 26th on Boxing Day, if you're British or Canadian. And it's in Cancer. I already looked that up, which is why you don't see me shuffling that on screen, because I wanted to be able to look up the moon phase, just in case it was something I was unaware of. But we did not get any deities for that. I do have a new deck that I haven't modified it to make it easier for me to shuffle with my fat, small hands. As you can see, they're kind of fat and small. But I do have a new deck that I just received. I got it on pre-order, and I haven't worked with it yet. It's been charging and cleansing. So, let's see. Can we clarify death? It's meant to be... No. Well... How about clarifying the Queen of Swords? What boundaries do they need to set? What changes or actions do they need to take in regards to their thinking? Six of Swords and Two of Wands. Strengthening the relationship to the spiritual. Wow. Oh, you've got Five of Wands twice. The Moon and the Five of Wands together with the Five of Wands reversed. There are a lot of fives, a lot of about like conflict, but also how that conflict can lead to the next steps and moving forwards. The Queen of Pentacles, please. Queen of Pentacles. Wow. The bottom of the deck is the Hierophant. Oh, it's the Hierophant and the Two of Wands. I noticed that in somebody's reading the last time. Oh, that light is just... Let's move that. No, that still creates a... Oh, and now it's fallen off. That still creates a lot of glare. Maybe there. Okay, so Two of Wands is the Hierophant. and the doorway and the Two of Wands. Interesting. So the Hierophant, let me turn that light off and turn another one on. The Hierophant, all about guidance, about the inner guidance, about your traditions, your rituals, seeking guidance from other people, professionals, not just like priests or religious professionals, but seeking guidance from somebody who has more experience than you. Eight of Swords, getting out of your head and the way that you've been thinking about things to get satisfaction, balance, and harmony, to have the golden life. Interesting. And at the bottom of the Druid craft, we have the Hangman also. The Hangman came out there. So the Hangman, Ten of Pentacles, yeah. In order to get the long-term satisfaction that you want, let's do a card from here. How can they connect? How can they strengthen the relationship to their spiritual allies? Two cards. Ooh, fierce. Very fierce. Okay, so we will get that. We'll get that book. This will be the first time I've used that. Okay, so Death, all about transformation. And look, she's holding the skull like a pet, right? So this is about transforming the way that you're thinking, transforming your passions. Your thinking, when you change it, you change your behaviors, you change your habits, you change the world around you by changing the way that you're thinking and reacting to it. So something to do with your thinking needs to change. Shedding the old skin in order to have this new beginning, shedding these old ways of thinking, maybe even some of these old passions, is going to change the way you're thinking. There's something about the way, usually I don't comment on the way she's holding the skull, but there's something about the way she's holding the skull. And I'm not quite sure what it is. I think I probably commented on everything else imagery-wise in this card, but that. But for some reason my attention wants to stay with the way she's holding the skull. Almost like she's petting it, or like she would be holding a crystal ball or a bowling ball or a ball of some sort. But a skull is not a ball. I don't know. There's something about the way she's holding it. Sorry. So the Six of Swords, which you have here too. So you got the Six of Swords in both decks. So this is a transitory period. It's moving from the stormy waters, the stormy emotions, by putting your thinking ahead of your emotions, your thoughts over your emotions, putting your thoughts down, not letting them harm you or anybody else. And that allows you to move into, this place of refuge, this dream place, this place where there's no more storms emotionally. Things are easier. It's better for you. So changing the way you're thinking is going to help you in this transitory period. Laying down any thoughts that are like, particularly if, because this is what is this specifically called? This is the mythic tarot, and it's a lot of like Greek and Roman mythology, right? So if you were worshiping in a Hellenic way, in a Greco-Roman way, and those were your deities, putting down, because we do have some record of, in general, if you're pagan, we do have some record of like ancient cultures, particularly the Romans. How do I say this? So we have some record, we have some idea how they may or may not have worshipped in the past. But if you have certain ideas and certain thoughts about this is the correct way to worship, or this is the person that I need to worship, or the spiritual relationship that I need to have, and this is how it's going to go, and this is how it's supposed to go, etc., you could be predisposing yourself, and that could be what's causing these stormy waters, right? That could be what's causing you to not have a strong spiritual relationship. I hope that made sense. So looking at changing the way that you're thinking about how things should be is going to help you to get to that better place, to get to that shoreline, to get to those homes that even, a bunch of them look like temples. Some of them look like homes, but a bunch of them look like temples. So it's going to help you. Strength sideways and two wands sideways with that Hierophant or High Priest in the doorway. So strength, it's interesting because you see the sword is down at the ground under the foot of the lion. The lion symbolizes luck, symbolizes, lions also symbolize virility and strength. So your thoughts, lions can also symbolize, it can be Leo, but it can symbolize, because Leo has that trait of sort of, if they're in a negative space, being a little bit, how do I say it, a little bit in their ego too much, a little too flashy, show-offy, in a negative way, not in a positive way. There's a way to, show off and be prideful of yourself. But then there's a way to do it where it's negative and you're kind of a jerk to everybody, and putting everybody else down rather than raising up everybody along with raising up yourself. So this, strength, it talks about figuring out a way to conquer those negative sides of yourself where maybe the ego, the pride gets in the way of your thinking, and it affects your thoughts. That passion affects your thoughts, and it affects your spirituality in a negative way. Like the people who brag, I donated so much to my church, or I did I did so many good works. Is that the reason that you do good works? So people will think you're a good person and recognize you as the most charitable or the most, whatever? Or is it because you actually want to help people? That's what this card can be talking about. So you need to look at where your passions or your ego might be overcoming the way that you're thinking about your relationship to spirituality, because it's sideways, because it's not, if it were in the upright, it would be healthy. You would have conquered that lion, or that, egotism, that pride. If it were in the reverse, then the lion has control and it's eating you up. It's overpowering you. So there's this component of needing to be mindful of that, and that is probably the thought pattern that you're needing to change. Why are you doing the things that you're doing spiritually? Are you doing it for recognition, or are you doing it because you actually want to, if it's helping people, because you actually want to help people? Are you working with the spiritual deities, the goddesses, the gods, the spirit guides that you're working with because you want some sort of recognition, you want to fit into a group, or they're popular? Or are you genuinely working with them because you feel akin to them and you feel like they can enhance your spirituality and you can offer them something else in return as well? So Two of Wands, it talks about getting this vision. It talks about looking. And like I said, the Hierophant is in the doorway, and I didn't realize that before. I didn't know that. The Hierophant is in the doorway, and he's got that scroll, he's got knowledge, and he's making that, but he's in the shadow. He's making that Urak sign, the bullhorn sign. So this is an interesting card to get sideways, because when it's in the reverse, it talks about not moving forwards, not seeing the vision for your life, either a delay, a lack of planning, a lack of moving towards goals. When it's in the upright, it talks about getting that vision, and it's getting that vision and that guidance from your intuition, from your spiritual guides, and really understanding how you can move forwards on a path, being in the doorway, opening the door and moving forwards and making plans, but it's sideways. So you're very much with that Six of Swords in this transition period and not quite there. With the Queen of Swords, she uses her thinking and her understanding. She gets that higher perspective. She gets that internal communication and that flow of communication and that understanding of where she wants to be spiritually. And then she sets boundaries around it so that stuff can't interfere with it, so that she can cut out the things that are not helping her in strengthening that spiritual relationship. And we've got the Five of Cups in the reverse. So there's something that you're wallowing in. And the Knight of Pentacles in reverse, you're not taking practical steps. You're not setting the boundaries. You're not cutting out the distractions or the people that are preventing you from strengthening the spiritual relationship. Instead, you're allowing them to halt your growth or to halt this relationship. There's something that, you're not chasing after it. You're looking at the negative all the time. Interesting, because this Five of Cups, there's 4 cups spilled and 1 upright. 3 of the cups are together and 1 of the cups is separate. And the other cup is the lamp with the light from her soul. And it looks like she's chasing after Apollo. It looks like she's chasing after the sun, the clarity. But this was in the reverse. So you can't rest. You can't let go of this, but you also can't chase after the clarity for your soul. There's something blocking you. There's some proposal going on in the freeze. Proposal in a grove up above this, but yeah, all your light, it's all your light spiritually, it's not being used because you're kind of struggling. You're chasing after, maybe you're chasing after the wrong thing spiritually. I mean, you're trying to move on, but you're not setting those goals. You're not clearing away those distractions from the past. So it's only like you're half trying. Then we have the 6 of Swords again with the 2 of Wands again. Okay, this 2 of Wands, you can see it's coming out of the dark forest, going up the mountain, which is an obstacle, or it's maybe not an obstacle, but a little bit of difficulty. But then you see at the top of the frame, framed by the trees, there's that clear blue sky. So when you get past this obstacle, there's that clear blue sky, the sun shining on you, the clarity. And here, this 6 of Swords, you see how the swords are kind of in their lap. This is the symbolism of, so it's about small changes having big effects, but this is a symbolism of the conscious, the subconscious, and the soul, the ferryman, the hermit, the soul, and how it's moving you. When you're in totality, it's like the chariot. When you're in total control, when all of these are in agreement on the direction you go to, you head into a new beginning. You head into the sunrise. And quite interestingly enough, we have the sun, right? So we have that clarity, we have that new beginning. So moving towards a strengthening of spiritual relationships, you're going to get clarity on how to manifest this, how to go through the doorway, how to have this rebirth that you want. Yeah, it's weird because Apollo is holding the arrow, the bow, of Diana and Orpheus's harp. But the sun, I mean, it's very appropriate. It's Orpheus's heart because the sun is about the rebirth. Once you get the clarity, it's about the new beginning. It's about understanding this. Three of Wands. So understanding where you need to let go of things, where you need to let go of the crown, the ego, in order to have things, in order to have the strengthening of the relationship, in order to get the things that you want. Where do you need to accept apologies and where do you need to extend apologies? Or where do you need to let go of the ego, the conscious mind, and allow creativity and spirituality to flourish here? Where do you need to let go of control? This Five of Wands, I mean, you see a dragon and they get a bad reputation for hoarding gold, right? For hoarding knowledge, for not letting it go, for not using it, but also not letting it go. I mean, what good is a gold coin unless you spend it? Okay? So knowledge that you're holding on to, that you're not letting it flow naturally and creatively, that you're not brainstorming, it's not doing you any good. Okay? It's keeping you trapped rather than flying. This is an interesting Knight of Swords. There are two people, two swords. It's about taking action. It's about seeing things from a different and from multiple perspectives, and even more with two people and two swords. It's about that thinking that's changing and putting it into action, along with that Two of Wands. So really getting clarity on where there are things you need to give up and how you can action those. Things you need to give up mentally, preconceived notions you need to give up mentally, and how those can be actioned on. Then we have the Moon and the Five of Wands again. But this time the Five of Wands is upside down. So getting, the Moon is also getting clarity like the Sun. But it's clarity in a different way. It's clarity in, like the Six of Swords, the stormy water, how you can find that path that is right for you, how you can leave behind sort of these notions of what is right and wrong, and that you need to fight other people or fight yourself about your beliefs. How can you nurture your own spirituality in regards to not paying attention to other people's spirituality? How can you forge your own path? That's what you need to do. You need to forge your own path and not necessarily follow the path that was laid out by tradition or by other people. And we've got the World and the Magician sideways. So this accomplishment, there aren't any shortcuts to the strengthening of your relationships and to healing them. Okay? There aren't shortcuts, but yeah, what goes around comes around with the Ouroboros there, rather than the laurel wreath of victory. And the Ouroboros is also a dragon. A snake is a dragon, right? So there's this ability for you to take what you already know, to take the relationships you already have, and to strengthen them by changing the way that you're thinking about them, changing where you're stuck, things that you've been doing traditionally that maybe aren't helping you get the results you want, and to heal these relationships by thinking in a different way, by nurturing them in a different way than you have been, sort of going your own way rather than what has been done by other people, feeling out your own way rather than following the traditional paths is going to help you. And this is about nurturing your health, nurturing your, abundance. With the rabbit there, with the drumming, you might want to look into drumming or chanting when you meditate or pray. So there's a healing of the passions that music can bring. There's a healing of not being able to move past certain thought patterns, like entrancement can help heal you of EFT, can help heal you of certain thought patterns, emotional patterns, right? So there's a certain, with music, tribal drumming, spiritual drumming, you might want to look into that. Nine of Pentacles. So Nine of Pentacles is about a good work-life balance. So here we're talking about a good balance between the material and the spiritual, not necessarily work life. It's more about needing to have this good balance between your spiritual life, your spiritual connections, and your relationships with the spiritual versus your relationship with the mundane world, the material world. And we've got the Five of Swords. So there is some breakdown in communication, and the Hangman in the reverse, because you're not seeing things differently. You're not changing the old behavior patterns. You're not taking the time out to look and to repeat certain things that you need to repeat in order to understand things a little more deeply spiritually. Your thoughts about how things should go or how things should be, like with the Five of Cups and the Knight of Pentacles, there's a block there. There's a block in energy there. It's weird, this imagery with the Five of Swords. It's like, so Five of Swords is small losses over time. It's competition, envy, jealousy, betrayal. But it's weird because this one, it's like Apollo is scolding the person who's like a child. You can see that. A little washed out, but you can see that it's like Apollo is scolding the child for their thoughts. forgot where I was going with that. It is about the way that you're thinking and the way that you want to change your thinking and how you want to mature in that thinking in order to develop how you want to nurture your health over certain passions that are in the material world in order to grow more spiritually aware. And let's look at, in the past, people would go into monasteries or they would go into abbeys, even if they didn't want to be like a nun or a monk. They would still go there, and sometimes people still do, just to get away and experience a little more of the spiritual rather than the mundane. But so they would take themselves out of the world. Like, I'll use, so like when you go into a spiritual space, the burning of incense is to make it not smell like the rest of the world or the rest of your day. So a certain incense can kind of put you into, this is a spiritual place, this is a spiritual mood. They say that to use Catholic Christian for an example, they say that the church is the house of God, or like Jewish temples, it's the house of God, right? Most people are familiar with that idea and concept coming from a generally Christianized society here in the West. So the temple is the house of God, right? And it's sort of like designed in a way to put you through, like you're going through from the outside world through a birth canal into this big, bright, beautiful place with the stained glass, with the iconography of the Catholic Christian or the Jewish symbolism or whatever religion the temple belongs to or the house of God belongs to. You're going from like the world through the darkness, and then you're reborn into this area that is the house of God, right? Or goddess, or the house of spirituality. So there's like this actual physical that is supposed to mimic the spiritual. And so when you're transitioning, there are things that you can do physically, like with the sort of entrancement music or the incense, or like having a routine or having a certain area set aside, like an altar to a deity or to, a guide, a spirit animal. There's like a certain image, maybe a statuette, or there's a certain incense, or there's something that will be like, this is not the material world anymore, this is not the mundane world anymore. In this space, when I smell this, when I hear this, this is going to mean that I can connect. It's sort of like creating a shortcut to the spiritual place, to that sort of feeling in the mind, the soul, and the body, that helps you connect. I probably didn't say that very well, but you may want to look at, if you don't have a spiritual place, regardless of what spirituality you are, you may want to look at setting up like a corner in a room. where you can have it be a connection or possibly visiting a spiritual place more regularly. This is the whole purpose of going to church every week. And the Christian and the Catholic and the Jewish traditions. I can't speak to other traditions. I'm not surrounded by other traditions. I only know one or two Muslims. But to me, this would be the purpose of doing that, because it keeps you in that spiritual, it keeps your soul and your physical body and your mind tied into that spiritual connection. When you go to these places, it's like flipping the light switch on. And then when you leave, it's like flipping the light switch off, because then you're surrounded by the material world again. You're surrounded by the mundane. I hope that made sense, the explanation. But if you're looking to strengthen your spiritual relationship, that is one way to go about it, to deliberately not just set aside the time, but set aside the space, or to visit a space that is spiritual to you, or a space that you believe is spiritual to a deity. So this is interesting. The Celtic Goddesses, Witches and Queens Oracle, and it just came out. I just got it. I had it on pre-order. So we have Arduna, I think I said that, Arduina, who is a Gaulish goddess in Maca. Highly forested mountainous Ardennes region, which covers parts of Belgium and Luxembourg, extending into France and Germany. Her name is drawn from the Gaulish Ardua must be, meaning height, and she gives her name not only to the Ardennes region. I know how to say that correctly because of World War II. I'm a bit of a history buff, but also to the forest of Arden. I think I said that, maybe I didn't, in England. She is associated with wooded regions and wild places, as well as hunting in the moon. Interesting. So you may want to go to a wild place, or a more wild place, like a forest that is near you, in a park. Okay. She is also associated with hunting boar. So it says, she calls upon you to fully embody yourself, to own your power and seize the initiative in your life. Decide what it is you want or need and go for it with all your ferocity and leadership. Get active and challenge yourself to grow stronger, be it mentally, physically, or emotionally, to expect more of yourself. So I'm going to say this is a challenge to grow spiritually, because we're talking about a closer spiritual connection to your guides. Be prepared to use strength and endurance to achieve your goals. The importance of your own instincts and gut feelings. You know what you need and what you need to do. If in doubt, seek some perspective in the wild or at a high place. They mean like a mountain, or maybe even the top of a building, and you will hear your inner voice once again. Do not be daunted. Own your situation. Direct your own story, and hunt the outcome you desire. Interesting. So that is Arduina. And then we have I'm saying that right. There's quite a few. There we go. Yes, Macha. Irish. Primarily a sovereignty goddess. Her name is most likely derived from the word for plain or pasture. Proto-Celtic Macaha, I don't know that I said that correctly, in Scots Gaelic. There's an associated word macair, meaning a fertile plain or grassland which is good for keeping horses and cattle. So she is associated with horses, fertility, kingship, and war, associated with the province of Ulster in Ireland. Interesting. Okay, the divinatory meaning. Macha's tale tells us about the importance of bravery and endurance. She is a warrior goddess, a goddess of the land. So she was disrespected and sought vengeance, and was a really hard worker. I would not counsel anybody to seek vengeance, and we are not here for that anyways. So it's saying look at your needs and insist that they be met. So look at your spiritual needs. If you want to strengthen your spiritual relationship, look at what it is that you need. Are you working too hard for the needs of others? That's the Empress card. Working too hard, because the Empress can be people-pleasing. It can be working too hard for the needs of others and nurturing others instead of yourself. So this is talking about looking at where your needs aren't being met and how that leaves you, depleted and angry, and how certain things are not your responsibility. Spiritually, certain things are not your responsibility, and your anger could get in the way of that. So this was Arduino's card, sorry. And this is Macha's card. So the Empress, yes. The Empress talks about how your ideas, your desires, how are you meeting those versus those of other people, and what is going on. And yeah, this is very much tied in with that. So this envy and jealousy and not being able to find your path, not being able to accomplish what you want and manifest the healing that you want in your spiritual relationships, in your spirituality, to not be able to accomplish, definitely could be tied to, well, this puts another spin on it, because, and I mean, she does look very angry, yes. She does look like Angel of Death sort of thing, with the black hair like wings, and the red, the passion, the blood, and the black being the color that encompasses all other colors and absorbs them within it. So this is, your anger at having to put your spirituality on the back burner at times could be blocking you. You could need to learn to say no to other people in order to nourish yourself, instead of being a people pleaser. If you want to heal your spiritual relationships and heal and strengthen your spirituality, regardless of what spirituality you are following, regardless of what you believe in, you may need to say no. Wonder Woman. Okay, not sure why that came up. You may need to say no to other people and other people's ideas of what your spirituality should be. Okay? You may need to, like I said, carve your own path, follow your own path once you figure out what it is. And you may need to sort of, like when this was talking about her having vengeance and having to justify herself to others. You don't have to justify yourself to others. If that's the direction you're reaching out towards, you can go your own path, but you don't have to justify yourself to anybody, right? Other than yourself. Even the spiritual entities, the goddesses, the gods, whoever you're reaching out to, you don't necessarily have to justify to them Sorry, I lost that train of thought. This card is not, I can't hold on to it, sorry. So yeah, you don't need to justify why you're doing what you're doing to anybody, okay? It's very personal. Everybody's spiritual path is very personal and individual, and everybody's spiritual path is unique and it can't be defined. Let's look at what the full moon said. Okay, so this is the Moon Oracle deck. Full moon in water. It says flower and fulfillment. So full moon in water, this is a period which the successful outcome of an emotional issue is indicated. And so we just had a full moon, we're heading for another new moon, and then there is that full moon on Boxing Day, December 26th. So foregoing events have developed positively in the hoped for direction. An emotionally secure and satisfying situation has been achieved. You are feeling fulfilled. When this card is the current moon, the zodiac signs below will give a further interpretation. And it does mention moon in Cancer. So this moon in Cancer on December 26th, Cancer is the traditional ruling sign of motherhood, like the Empress. Interesting. And this phase is the equivalent of bringing a healthy child into the world. You experience a sense of relief, pride, and protectiveness during this time. Interesting. You might want to look up more symbolization for new moon in Cancer. But that's interesting that the Empress for the lady. She is, symbolization of motherhood, birthing not just an actual physical child, but the birthing of ideas, the birthing of the new path for your spirituality, the birth of this strengthened relationship and this strengthened spirituality within you. I hope this is helpful to you. Take care of yourself. Have a great Saturday.